Hi everyone, today I will be talking about the topic of immigration. This is something that has greatly impacted my family, as my family came here from Cambodia as refugees during the Vietnam War. Like many immigrants, this was not easy for them. They overcame many obstacles and worked very hard for the life that they have now. Many immigrants come here for work. That is the number one reason. Other people come here for many other reasons, such as safety, better opportunities, and my family as refugees came here for safety. There can also be a negative perception sometimes for people here on immigrants. This can be due to the differences in culture and language, and I think it can be a really beautiful thing, but unfortunately, there are those negative perceptions due to those differences. So today I will be interviewing my mother on her experiences as a refugee here in the US from Cambodia. This is my mom, Meth Talato. She came to the US from Cambodia in 1979. The first question I'm going to ask you is, what was your experience like coming to the US from Cambodia?
It was a good experience coming to the US from Cambodia, but my circumstances might be different because I came from a country where we were trying to escape the war and genocide. And if it wasn't for the kindness of a very generous church and the Americans that decided to sponsor us, then our family would probably just be another statistic in the 2 million people that died during that time. So we never take that for granted that we have all the opportunities that we have now in America because of the kindness of the people in the US.
Okay. And then my other question is, what was the hardest part about living in the US as a refugee?
So I think initially the hardest part of being a refugee is the assimilation. So you're going to a country where people don't look like you, they don't speak the same language, they don't eat the same food. And when we came in 1979, it was in the winter. So you're coming from a country that's hot and humid, it's over 100 degrees every single day, to a place like Portland, Oregon, where it's snowing. So I think that was a big adjustment for my family. I remember hearing stories about when we first got here and it was snowing. My dad thought that the world was ending because this stuff was coming from the sky. The language barrier is probably the most difficult thing because, you need to be able to communicate to get a job and meet people and interact with your community. And when you're learning a language, some people are very patient and understanding of that. And then there's people that aren't very understanding and they're not going to accept you whether you speak the language or not. But I would say language barrier is probably the most difficult.
That makes a lot of sense. For the last question, my question is, do you feel like you had to work harder than other people who were born here to prove your worth in this country?
I don't know if I would say I had to work harder. I would say that I might have had obstacles that other people didn't have to deal with. Little things like my name. My given name is Mate, like roommate, but it's spelled like meth, which is the drug. So it's quite a unique name. So when you're applying for jobs or you're trying to get your foot in the door and you have that name at the top of your resume, it could stand out as good or bad. And with it being unique, it could be accepted or not. So I've heard similar stories from other people that have come here as immigrants and situations where I had a friend who had applied for a job with his given name. And after he applied for several different companies, he didn't get any callbacks. And then when he changed his name to his American name, and the content of the resume stayed the same, so everything but his name changed, he actually got calls back from all of those companies. So I think understanding those little bumps in the road and adjusting to them is going to help you be successful, but those types of things do make it a little bit harder.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. Although my mother's experience may be different from other people's or even yours, we can still see how being an immigrant or a refugee can make a huge difference in your life. It can be positive, providing better opportunities, or it can even be negative with people treating you differently. It just depends on your own situation. However, we can see the positives and the negatives on being a refugee or an immigrant in the US. Thank you so much for watching my documentary. I hope you enjoyed.